So, we're recording. I'm here with Jana. Hi, Jana.
Hey Zig, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very, very well.
That's very nice to hear. So we are both from the Coopy team, and we're here to discuss Coopy. Very excited about it, and happy to have you
Yeah.
do this with me.
Cool. Yeah. No, great. It's going to be good. I think there's a lot of exciting things overall coming up for the Coopy project. We will try and sort of encapsulate some of them with this recording, and we thought it would be easier sometimes for people to digest with a recording as opposed to just reading a document. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think people will love it. So, shall we get to it?
Yeah, let's get this show on the road.
All right. So for the first sentence, to kick it off, for the first question, can you explain in a sentence what Coupe is all about?
Yeah, I will. I will try to encapsulate it because the project of Coopy is quite vast and convoluted. Um, However, at the starting block, we are going to be kicking off with Coopy essentially being the global company where multiple different companies fall underneath it. And it's essentially, as a starter, is a business technology incubator and accelerator, as well as a crowdfunding, well, crowdsourced investment fund.
Yeah, I love it. It sounds amazing. Um, I'm very excited about it, of course. uh,
Yeah.
but why did you choose the name Coupe?
So Coopy is actually the abbreviated name for my dog, Cooper. Um, and when when sort of deciding, okay, what should a company name be, and what should a token be called, there's so many options, obviously. Now there's also lots of different, like I mentioned before, lots of different companies that will be falling underneath the umbrella name of Coopy. Like potentially Coopy Capital, Coopy Tech, etc. And it just made sense. So it's something dear to my heart. Obviously, I love him, adore him, and also when we're talking about crypto, it's nice to have. We've obviously got all these like Doge and Shiba, etc. And everyone falls in love with animals. And it's nice that we've got a little mascot, to be honest. Like, how Microsoft Word had the paperclip way back when. It's nice to have a mascot. And also, it filters into some of our future things when we come to the Coopyverse and like animated TV series and things like that. That we'll talk about that later on.
I completely agree. And he's a one cute doggo, so I totally get it. He really is.
Yeah, he is, and he's a special little thing. I know I'm biased, but people stop us on the street, and he's just he attracts good vibes, and that's
Of
what we want to
course.
do here as well.
Yeah. Um, so, what would be the utility of the project, and how can like a new investor see the value of his investment, and what would be the benefits of his investment?
So there's multiple layers to the utility, but as a sort of a baseline, we truly believe that absolutely every single person on this planet, whether they are from America, the UK, or some, little island in Asia, whatever it might be, we fundamentally believe that everyone should be given the opportunity to be involved in businesses, learn, have multiple revenue streams, be able to invest in like the foundation stage of businesses. And not everyone is fortunate enough to be able to do that. The majority of people, they have to invest in something, let's say like Apple on the stock exchange, and that's it. They don't ever get the opportunity to actually invest at the lower beginning a stage of like seed investment or series A, even series B, etc. And that's one of the beauties of what crypto does allow. It does allow some people who wouldn't ever get an opportunity to invest in something, like if they happen to, what we've heard the stories of people investing like $100, $20 in SHIB, for example, very early stage, and then they're millionaires and it changes their life. But unfortunately, there are also a lot of different scams in crypto. And yeah, so the main utility is that we want to give our investors the opportunity to sort of play with the big boys, be a venture capitalist, but don't have to have the money or necessarily the connections, because again, not everyone's lucky enough to have that. And we in my sort of real world business, and I say real world because this is actually, we're bringing fiat and we're bringing the digital and the real world together with this, with the blockchain and crypto. But we already have been developing technologies, so we've got the experience, and we have our own incubator company, and it makes sense to actually start passing on, not just, again, to reiterate, not just the big rich people to be able to do this, because again, that tends to be who has the option to do that. So by people holding KupiCoin, you are essentially entitled to a revenue share based on your percentage holdings. And that also is so it's how much you have, so like the percentage of the supply, but also how long you hold your tokens. We want to, you have to buy KupiCoin to be able to have a revenue share in some of the different businesses that we will be investing in. Now, what we decided to do was start off with our incubator, our internal incubator, where we will be using some of the funds generated to develop our own technologies and businesses, but we will also be opening up to external submissions as well. And we decided that because we're at an advanced stage of the cooling tech, which we'll go into a little bit further, into more detail, we wanted to start with our cooling tech, because we're advanced with the development, and we can offer up Coopy being able to invest at seed stage, which is in turn great for the investors that invest into KupiCoin. And yeah, that's essentially what it is. We'll be also channeling some of the revenue into different trading groups. We've got advisors that are already heavily involved in trading Forex, for example. That will be one of the arms, and also crypto. But to be honest, crypto is so volatile, so that's going to potentially be the least supported of what we choose to invest in, because with Forex, it's going to be a little bit, well, it's not easier, but it is when you come to like looking at the technicals and the fundamentals, it's easier to actually trade. And then every single dividend that comes from any company that we invest in, any trades that we do, then the investors in KupiCoin will have a return on their investment. And we want to get to a point where the return on the investment is happening monthly. Obviously, we need to get everything off the ground, but we want to be in a position where we've diversified all of our sort of like risk into various different portfolios, and the investors in KupiCoin essentially become a co-owner, and then they will be able to, from dividends and other opportunities that we bring for revenue streams, it will be returned to the investors based on their percentage holding.
That sounds amazing. I really think that crypto is offering from the investment side a lot to a common person that was previously not available to everyone. But at the same time, it's easy to get caught up fully in crypto especially for the developers, to be just like focused on crypto and that's it. While
Mm.
this to me sounds a perfect merge of the like real world and actual utility in the world. Uh, as you mentioned, the cooling technology, which is like broadly speaking not crypto related at all, but you know,
Mm.
we are making it the way that we are merging those two worlds together and actually bringing the real value to the crypto, which sounds amazing. Um,
Yeah, exactly. And, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like I said, we're starting with the cooling tech again. We'll go into this in more detail of what it actually is. But by being able to, A, by being able to invest in something, no matter how much money you have, even if someone could only afford to invest $10, we want to make sure that they have that opportunity and they're not having to also just rely on the token price, because yes, the token price is relevant to a point. Um, but what we're hoping to achieve is by, obviously, with our pre-sale and also with our revenue generating investments, and also other things that we will be bringing out to create a source of funds for us as a company. Um, we want the price should hopefully just keep climbing. Yes, there's going to be people trying to trade it, etc., and that's fine and that's great. Having volume is positive because, like any economy, we don't just want there to be buying. There has to be some selling. That's just how it is. That's how things work. But we want to be able to firstly allow common investors and not necessarily affluent. Obviously, they can be affluent individuals as well, but giving them the opportunity to be able to say, "Hey, I am an investor in a multi-billion-dollar company, and this is great," and they've got that opportunity, and also they get a revenue stream coming through. And yes, okay, it is proportional to their holdings, but then there's also going to be things along the way that will allow people, say, even if they only have $10, if they invest at the early stage, then they will be rewarded accordingly, because we want to also say thank you to anyone that has invested, especially when they adopt us at a very early stage. We will sort of have multipliers in place where, depending on where they invested, and what they invested and how long they've kept it, then we will give back as well, because we very much are wanting to give back to our investors, and their support is invaluable to us. And as we grow, we want them to grow as well, not just the project.
yeah, and that's like the proper way to do it, I think, because well, however that term is overused, to hold, right? It's not just like to
Mm.
hold, but to award people actually believing in the project and supporting us and at the same time we will do the best we can to support them. I mean, the business model is made that way. So that's really
Yeah,
nice.
100%.
So we mentioned a little bit of the tech before, and
Hmm.
the kickstarting of projects and stuff like that. I
Hmm.
know because I have inside information that Kupi is that Kupi is already involved with some technologies and developing some technologies. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Can you reveal something to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the most important one at this point in time is to discuss the cooling tech, because we chose that to be the very first one because, like I said, we are at a more advanced stage with it, and we've also got MOUs from governments that want to implement our technology, as well as companies that want to license the technology to be integrated into their products. So it made sense that we would uh, put this under the umbrella and start off with this being our first company investment into the cooling tech, because it'll be a good, well, we can, if we do it quickly, then for the Coopy company and the internally investors, then it will be a great position, because we have opened it up purely to be able to invest at seed level, but also there will be products coming out very soon, and we can see that it's actually going to be rewarding more quickly than any of the other tech that we are also developing. So with the cooling tech, it's essentially the next generation of environmental control solutions that is going to be leapfrogging existing cooling and heating technologies. It essentially results in dramatically improved efficiency, portability, and energy-saving devices. Obviously, for IP reasons, can't go into a huge amount of the fundamental details, but it's a solid state product. It's significantly smaller than what one can get now, has no harmful gases. It's low energy consumption, and you can power it on a relatively small charging device, so it can even be powered by a 9-volt battery. Obviously, this is a sweeping statement to a point, because clearly, if depending on the utilization of the technology, it might not be possible to just do it on a 9-volt battery if, we need to cool a humongous space. But there is the ability to do that. And that also means that the use cases for it are so vast. We've got, let me use one example. The tech can be implemented or integrated into clothing. Now, that's not just Joe Blogs with my, I don't know, let's say I'm wearing a t-shirt. I would be able to have it integrated into my clothing, so I'd be able to actually control my own personal temperature. Zigga would be able to control his own temperature, but it doesn't stop there. For example, military. If someone is missing and they need to do a search in the sea or a river or whatever, sometimes the limitations of how long a diver can be under the water means that they're not spending as much time trying to find these individuals, or they can't go too far down because the temperature. Now, we can integrate it within wetsuits, and they'll be able to control the temperature, which obviously means they can be down there longer, which is a positive. We've also got pet and animal wearable and tracking technologies, which obviously is an emerging huge market, but it's obviously dear to my heart as well. It's with the portable light and low energy refrigeration, so like in theater military use, medical transportation, drug administration. It can be fitted retrospectively into current refrigeration products. If we put it into consumer electronics, say computers, for example, then it makes it significantly more efficient, lower maintenance, and improves the overall performance of microprocessors, including their life. And also, obviously, the air conditioning. That's where we've got government MOUs in place for them to implement it into all of their government buildings, and which also goes to educational facilities, because the air conditioning is so important, but it can also, there's positive byproducts from it. It's smaller, more energy efficient, can be solar powered. And then also one of the key things that I find very interesting is, let's say we were in, I don't know, an African impoverished place. I won't say a specific one because I don't want to offend anyone potentially. But let's say we installed the aircon unit into a bus station. Now that could be fully functioning with solar panels on the top, so the bus station is air conditioned via the sun. But then there's always a byproduct of water. So we could actually have it so that then we integrate some sort of like water system where it's captured and then released, and then people can actually have access to clean water, which is such a problem in many African places. So that's also something that we want to do. Is once we've developed the technology, we also want to give back and actually go out to these places and install it for free, because everyone in this world should be able to access clean water, food, and education at a bare minimum. And that's one of the use cases as well of the cooling tech. There's so much more about it, but I will be here all day, and as you can tell, because there are so many use cases, I'm sort of jumping around going like, oh yeah, and this and that, but it's such an exciting piece of technology, because it's really, there's nothing out there, no one's cracked it. Zare, who you guys will meet at some point, is, I call him the my mad professor, because he's just so clever and he knows so much. And yeah, so all thanks to him, really. This started off as an idea that was actually going to be for clothing, cooling and heating and clothing. But as he was progressing with the technology development, realized actually this is much larger, and we have cracked something that people have been working on for a long time. And there's a lot of exciting use cases coming up, and conversations that have been had already with the likes of Siemens, the Saudi government, American conglomerates. So yeah, this is why we're starting with the cooling tech. And then we also, though, it's not just about the cooling tech, but like I said, it's the first one that we're going to kickstart with. But we've also been working on, we have UVCS lights. They're a safe, non-chemical light solution that eliminates 99.99% of bacteria and viruses without any harm to organic matter, i.e. human tissue, and any risk of virus resistance. So that's also something that can be implemented into, obviously, the aircon and other things that the cooling tech will be implemented into. So they sort of can coexist, and that's fully functioning, ready to go. But we just haven't focused on it because it's not as advanced. Then there's new generation bladeless wind turbines, which is essentially, it's innovatively designed small turbine that can be fitted to existing homes, and that would provide up to 120% of average energy consumption. Then we've also got AR and VR glasses that we've been working on. Now this is going to become important as we progress with the Coopyverse, which, it's what it is. It's metaverse, but for Coopy. But we find that very much want to look at AR and VR working together, because I can't say much about it right now, but we've been working on a lot of the AR technology and have in discussions with various businesses about how they can actually utilize this tech. But we don't want everything to be completely VR, because I personally would find it very soulless world if in 25 years' time, our kids, like say if I walked into my lounge and my kids were there and they weren't talking to each other, they were just sat with these headsets on in a VR world, that would be really sad. I don't want to lose that interaction. But things like COVID, and also things when people are across the world, and you can't always be together, it's nice to be able to catch up and, fun to have this VR mentality as well. So we very much want to introduce the glasses where you can flip it on the fly, and also it makes it more entertaining and fun. And there's a lot of scope of things that can be done using this technology. You know, restaurants, it's great. Or if you're even just ordering something from a menu like Deliveroo, um, if someone can actually visualize rather than just a picture, but they can actually see what they're going to eat in front of them using like AR, then that's very exciting. And there's a lot more that's coming up on the gaming side that we've been working on. Gosh, over a year now on the gaming stuff, but we're slowly trying to perfect it, and then that will be a further down the line utility. So there's lots coming up, and I've probably rambled on way too much.
No, no, I totally get it because it's so exciting and especially like really, really well thought through. So I'm really excited to see all the technologies in action and to see it coexist with, I mean, exist within Coopy. Um,
Mm.
so we've touched base a little bit on what Coopy is all about. Should we talk a little bit about the tokenomics of the project and how's that going to look like?
Yeah. So with the tokenomics, we're going to be relatively organic because what we want to achieve ultimately is that it becomes a self-funding project. So part of the dividends will be obviously distributed to the investors, but then some of the dividends will also be held back to be able to invest in more projects to develop our own incubator, like we've discussed, invest in external projects because like I said, we are going to be having the option for people to actually submit their ideas because that's also something that's key for us. I'm not sure if I mentioned it already, so apologies if I'm repeating myself. But not only do we want people to be able to invest and see a return, we also want to actually encourage individuals to be able to, if they've got a great idea, and but they don't know what to do with it or how to go about it, or they don't have the business skills, or they need some investment and they don't have anyone to turn to for that, or they can't self-fund it. We want to open up the doors to allow anyone to have that voice. Clearly, not everyone will have a brilliant idea, or it might be a brilliant idea, but they won't be able to execute it, but we'll be able to bring in the resources. So we'll probably get quite a few silly ideas, no disrespect to anyone, but it shouldn't be that. I don't know. Again, using the example of someone living on a small remote island somewhere, they might be able to be the next Steve Jobs, but they're not in the position, whether it be for networking, capital, the location. It might be restricting for them. So that's why we also want to open the doors for external submissions, and we will provide resources for anything that we think is worthwhile or the community thinks is worthwhile. So there'll be certain things where we'll moderate the submissions, and then we'll put it to a vote, or we'll have once it's been confirmed, we'll have a site where people can actually choose to invest. That will be the crowd funding site. But yeah, the tokenomics, what we ultimately want to do is make it self-funding. So we're going to start off with low taxes and turn those down to zero as quickly as possible. And the taxes are going to be for project development and investment. That's going to be the sole use of them. So it's likely that the maximum tax will be 4%. Initially, we thought that perhaps we would make it so that it was 0% on buys, 4% on sells, but actually that doesn't make sense because our business model is actually trying to encourage people to buy and hold, So if no one's selling, then the project doesn't have any taxes, and therefore we don't have any funds to invest in anything. So it would be foolish. So it's likely that we'll actually make it 4% buy, 0% sell, or 2 and 2. But as I mentioned, we're aiming to get it to zero tax and for it to be self-generating funds from dividends, from NFTs that people will be able to purchase, and other things along the way.
That sounds amazing. And yeah, especially you, had a lot of thinking to done to this day about it, and I think you ironed it down very well to what it is now. Um,
Thank you. Yeah, it's a tough one when looking at the tokenomics. Obviously, it's important, but that's also one of the reasons, and we'll talk about the pre-sale, I'm sure. But it's also one of the reasons why we need to have such a high raise, because there's it's not just about the raise; it's also about having the tokens in the circulation. But we need to make sure that it's a self-funding project, because so many projects unfortunately die because they're relying on volume, and if there's no volume, then the project disappears, and that's a shame, because there are some great projects out there, but they just haven't thought through fully about the P&L. And when you actually look at who we are targeting with some of our technology interests, we're talking about governments, we're talking about billion-dollar companies. Now, if we rock up and we're sort of going like, oh, we want you to adopt crypto, and we want to make it so that it's like crypto blockchain more than anything else, and the real world fiat. If we're just sat there at I don't know, 100K market cap, and we can't really show that crypto investors aren't just after a quick buck, they are actually looking for long-term investments, and they are wanting to bridge the two, then if we can't show that by being able to actually raise and do all these things, then we're fighting a losing battle already. So because we are playing with the big boys out there, and we want to bring that to the common people, I'm doing inverted commas because that sounds rude, but hopefully you know what I mean. We need to show that it's viable as well. So that's also another reason why we have to have the circulating supply and have a larger raise, so that we can show and prove the concept that it's not just crypto is full of overnight millionaires or people that are scamming. So that's also part of why, yeah, it's taken a while to evolve.
yeah, it it makes total sense to me, and it's really nice. And on that note, I think we can for people to understand what we mean with like long term and yeah, what would be some of the short term goals and what are the long term goals for Coopy, as we just started with the marketing, and so people can find out, like really understand what are those two for us.
Yeah, so the short-term goals really are that we need to kick off the marketing, like you mentioned, that we're just about to start, and we want to start spreading the word of what Coopy is about, trying to change the mindset of individuals, because I have noticed that there are a lot of people that they get shocked at essentially, how much is being raised, but also I think a lot of people have the mindset of they just want to see like a micro cap where they can get in and out very quickly. Now that's all well and good, and no disrespect to anyone's trading style, of course, because that's what we do in forex trading, and that's part of what we are going to be doing. Skimming essentially, or swing trading. But we want to make sure that we're a long-term project, because there's so many, no disrespect to anyone when I say this, but there's so many projects where it's quick. Let's say, I don't know, it's Easter. Everyone's like, oh yeah, is there any Easter projects coming out? And there always are. There's inevitably going to be some, and that's great. That's not a long-term project. There's zero utility, but there's always someone essentially left holding the baby. It only works if you get in early, and that age-old buy at the bottom, sell at the top. Great, but then there's someone that's going to lose out, and unfortunately, that tends to be the little guy that is actually just trying to make them a better life for themselves. And that's what we're trying to change, the mindset where you don't have to just be someone's exit liquidity. You can actually earn some money, and good money, without having to do that. So yeah, that would be the short-term goal. We are also going to be implementing. Sorry, I just had to stand up. That's why I'm my laptop was about to die, which wouldn't be good. So yeah, what was I saying? We short term, we want to start the pre-sales, start educating individuals, start spreading the word. We have to hit certain milestones to be able to actually invest in the cooling tech, for example, for Coopy as a company to have that opportunity. As soon as we do hit certain milestones, then we will start doing the trading, we'll start doing the investments. And so that even if, say, this pre-sale takes a while, it doesn't matter, because provided we hit probably at least stage 4, then we'll be able to start kicking things off. And even if we haven't launched as a token yet, people will be able to start seeing their dividends. And then they have the choice. They can either remove them, or they can compound and invest. It's completely up to them. And then the long-term goal is really to become, sort of, for the utility's sake, become a household name. We want to snowball this, and long term, we've already been in conversations with some financial institutions about actually creating our own blockchain. Not going to promise that that's going to be pulled off, but we are in communication. Can't say exactly who, but a very, 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 very large financial body is very interested in some of the ideas that we have for a blockchain. And that could kickstart/snowball into the change that needs to be made. Obviously, we're all in crypto for many reasons, but for a lot of people, it's about the anonymity. But that's also riddled with issues because, as we see, crypto is actually full of a lot of bad actors, for want of a better term. But there are also some good people in crypto, and we want to try and change the perception. And yeah, so that's kind of the long-term goal. But ultimately, like, you've got websites like Kickstarter, you've got investment funds called seeders, and various different crowdfunding. We want to be that big, and have great technology, great business ideas, also some fun things under our belt. My background being in film and TV, there's a lot of connections. We can invest in films. There's no limits, and we want to start building on the Web3, Web4 technology of blockchain technology. Forget about crypto in its sense of the name, but we want to be at the forefront of leading the change that is needed, but also with technology and business development.
That's awesome. I love everything what you just said, but especially the fact that I think this is the first time I'm even like hearing about this kind of mechanic, right? So the like pre-sale is not set to 10 days and that's it. But at the same time, people will be able to see dividends on their investment even if the token isn't yet necessarily launched, which is uh, which is amazing, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's key for us. And we will be we always want to reward and give back to our investors. And also say thank you to the early adopters, because the early adopters are taking the biggest risk ultimately. So, at the different, we've got the tiered referral system implemented, so you can start earning back. We will also, again, once we hit certain milestones, we will be able to already start letting people have their referred money. We can't do it immediately because ultimately we have to make sure we've got the cash flow for the actual project. But within our sort of figures, we've taken that into account. So at a certain stage, we'll be able to start allowing people to have their referral money. They won't have to necessarily wait till the very end. We will also have, well, we not will also, we will, yeah, we will also have, once we hit each different stage, we will do competitions. It will be like a Coopy race, where everyone that's bought in the first stage, at least $10, they'll enter a raffle and someone will win money. And we'll do that at the end of every stage as well. So we're sort of, community marketing is so important. And I know sounds cliche sometimes, but it's the best form of marketing out there, 100% for any business, whether it's crypto or not crypto. For absolutely any business, word of mouth is the key. And without that, without the community, a project, a business will die. Think about it as like you've got the queen bee and all the little worker bees. The queen bee does a lot, obviously, and that's why there's a queen bee, but it needs all the little worker bees to do things. And that's essentially what the community is. And we want to give back and encourage that. So I'd rather personally invest in our community, giving back to them to make them push things forward, as opposed to paying an influencer that say, I don't know, 2 ETH or 2 Bitcoin and not really getting much back. I'd rather give it back to the community and encourage their development as well. As we, a lot of people that are on the team have got to know me quite a lot and quite well. And I think, I hope that they all know that that's my main aim with all of this, is to develop individuals, and that extends to the community, because ultimately all of the individuals that are on Coopy, well, not all of them actually, because obviously we've got Zaire and Rupert on the team, but most of them on the TG side, on the crypto side, all started off as community members at some point. Not just in tokens, that I've run, because I've only run one other one, Market Ledger, which is still going. And we'll be incorporating that within our business model within Coopy. But also just community members from other projects that I just got to know them, or my brother was helping out on a project and then I started to get to know people. But it's all about developing people's skill sets and encouraging that.
And while we're on the topic, can you tell us more about the team members, the main team members in the Coopy?
Yeah, 100%. So we have quite a vast range of different individuals that are part of the team. We've obviously got myself, my My background is, like I said, I started off in film and television, light entertainment shows, so actually TV at the beginning, light entertainment shows, and I worked my way up from work experience up to a producer, and then I found it quite soulless, in the nicest way. They're gosh, great catalyst and a great opportunity that I had, and I met so many amazing people. And without working on those TV shows, I don't think I would actually be where I am today. I would have met Zare, because I actually met Zare when it was when the cigarette ban was just starting in the UK, and I was working on a TV show where one of the celebrities that I was working with, he had a friend called Adam, and we got to know each other quite well because it was a weekly live show, and so Adam was coming along, became friendly because I was looking after the celebrities at that time, and he started working with Zare on electronic cigarettes, and we were talking about giving it to Simon Cowell because he was smoking still in the studio when no one else could. And as we started developing our relationship, Zara and I, we then decided to work together as business partners in general. And we've always had this idea of an incubator. And it's now, transforming and evolving to incorporate crypto and blockchain technology into it. So that's kind of me. Then we've got Zare, who, again, to reiterate, he's the nutty professor. His background is he received a first degree in astrophysics, and has been working in a diverse range of different business sectors. He predominantly was at IBM, Royal and Sun Alliance, EDS, Accenture, and he's been honing in his saying IT skills is belittling it, but his IT skills, his business skills, and technical skills. So Zare, he's credited not in the world as inventing electronic cigarettes, but essentially with the big boys, like British American Tobacco, etc. He is, and he started off there, and that's how we met. And then he ran a incubator under the IBM arm, which came out with various different large businesses. One was lastminute.com, another one was Rightmove. So he's got background in doing this as well, and we work very well together, because we've worked together for so long, and we enhance each other. Like, I'm definitely not as technical as he is, by any shape or form, but so I come up with ideas, he then sees how they can be done, and that's how we actually came up with the cooling tech. And we wanted to prove the concept, and I remember quite a few years ago we proved the concept using some piping and a hair curling tong, and then it's snowballed from there. So we've got Dominic, who Dom Dom, he is doing I was about to say a lot of, but all of the back end stuff for the website, the dApps. He's created so many dApps, and his background is he's been working over the past 15 years full time as a full stack developer, creating apps and websites, both the portals and back end, in the business to business area. And he's worked with so many big companies, but he's fully in control of our technology. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of things that we have created. Like, we've got a bingo bot, we've got music, we've got Coopy, Summon Coopy. He does the scratch cards that you'll get to see moving forward. But yeah, he's amazing. He's brilliant. We also have a gentleman called Rupert Fawcett. Rupert is a British artist and cartoonist, and he's great. He's on board now creating a lot of our NFTs. He's also creating the brand for the Coopy coin side of things, and also for the Coopy verse and the animation TV series. We want to come out with some books, a film. So yeah, that's also the other side that's going to be further down the line, and also kind of, part of why we've got this cute little Coopy. And then we've got Reinhard doing the contracts. He's fully on board with all of our contracts, and he is someone that I have developed a relationship with over, it will be, I think, coming up to 2 years soon. And he is a contract developer that I would trust implicitly. And we've built up that trust, and he'll be creating all of our contracts. He's created our pre-sale contract. Our NFT contract. He will be doing our main contract, and all the different subcontracts that inevitably are going to be needed. Then we have, of course, you, young man, and you're doing like the socials, etc., and developing your skill set as we progress and move forward. We have so many people. We've got Thomas doing developing a lot of the game stuff, but then we also have some external sources as well. So yeah, we've also got so many more because we've also got the teams in China, we've got teams in the UAE, but predominantly at this point in time, they're sort of like the main faces of who you'll see, but we'll start introducing more because we've also got advisors that in various different fields, whether it be the financial, blockchain technology, they're assisting us as well, fashion. But yeah, that encapsulates the majority of the team, I think.
Yep, and it's a lovely one, I must say.
Yeah.
So we touched base a little bit on this about pre-sale. How can one benefit from talking about Coopy in the pre-sale?
Okay, so like I mentioned, the investors are hugely important to us, and we are constantly trying to think of how we can give back. Now, at this point in time, and we'll probably implement more, but at this point in time, we have the following. So we have a tiered referral system. Now, the reason why we've made it tiered, and people shouldn't get put off by this, in terms of, they will automatically go like, oh, it's a Ponzi, it's MLM, multi-level marketing. And immediately people see that as a negative. But the reason why we have implemented this is actually we want the community, as I mentioned, to talk about us, to spread the word, to encourage people to invest, and also to talk about it. Now, if we decided that there'd be a 10% referral. Now, we could give it to just one person as 10%, but then, in my opinion, that then creates sort of like a negative approach where everyone's wanting to be that person. And in a group of friends, you're then not wanting to necessarily talk about it, or you are, but then it becomes important where you're like, well, if you tell, I don't know, let's say I told Zigger about it, and he then was going to obviously use his referral code to talk to other people about it. I might, if we know the same people, I might try and quickly get to those people for me to get the 10%. Now, what we want to do is actually reward everyone and encourage people to want to talk about it. So that's why we have this tiered referral system. Now, the way it works is we have, like I said, 10%. Now, the tier 1 will get 4%, tier 2 will get 3%, tier 3 will get 2%, and tier 4 will get 1%. So a total of 10%. Now, what that means is, let's say I recommended Coopy to Dom. Dom purchases. That's tier 1. So I will receive 4% of what Dom has invested. Then Dom recommends it to Christian. That's tier 2 for me, Jana, and tier 1 for Dom. So I will receive 3% of what Christian invests, and Dom will receive 4%. Then Christian then recommends Coopy to Tomato. That's tier 3 for me, tier 2 for Dom, and tier 1 for Christian, and so on and so forth, up to the 4 layers and a total of 10%. So that's one way that someone will be able to earn back. The other way is the early adopters in the pre-sale will also be given an NFT. That is associated with whatever stage that they have invested in. So there'll be one for stage 1, one for stage 2, one for stage 3, etc. And they'll all be different. Now, they will give a different multiplier bonus for their dividend return. So we're incentivizing individuals to actually adopt us early on. And if there is a scenario where someone has invested in all of them, thank you very much, then they will get like a super booster NFT, where again, it's just giving back and saying thank you. Obviously, there is also, with the pre-sale specifically, there is a price increase at the end of every stage. So again, if you adopt us early on, then you're already seeing the value increase. And also with the pre-sale, we have a sweep widget where as long as you've bought at least $10, so for every $10 that you buy in the pre-sale, at this point in time, this may change, it may increase as the prize pools increase, but right now, because we are at stage 1, it's $10. That will give you one ticket that will essentially act as a raffle ticket, and you will be able to, at the end of stage 1, we will do a Coopy race, which is essentially a raffle, and whomever wins that will get a prize, and we'll do that at the end of every single stage. So that's just what we've implemented now. But like I mentioned before, we are looking to implement more and more of these sorts of incentives.
That's really amazing. So that people can actually be rewarded to spread the word and to talk about Coopy, to tell their friends about it, and that way we get something out of it, and also like they can really like get something in return to talk about a really good project.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
we're going. I mean, the one of the bigger goals for Coopy is to invest in the in some crowdfunding and stuff like that. How are those decisions going to be made in what the Coopy as a company will be investing and which projects will it be investing in?
So that is going to slightly vary. Obviously, we have already made the decision about the cooling tech. Now, that was made purely to just kickstart us off, because the cooling tech is going to happen with or without Coopy. But we wanted to integrate it if we can, provided we obviously hit the different milestones that we need to hit. Then it makes sense, because imagine, we're not having to start from scratch and trying to find projects. We have a great project that's ready to go pretty much. But yeah, it's going to vary. So we're going to have like a board that will, and experts that will go through all the different projects, technologies, etc. Some will just like the cooling tech, and also some of the other ones that I mentioned before. It's just that makes sense. Then we'll have others where the community can vote on it. We'll also say, once with our crowdfunding actual website, we'll also be having a system where individuals can actually just make their own mind up. It won't necessarily be that Coopy as the project is investing in it will have certain things where it will be like, they've been vetted, let's say, and let's use the cooling tech as an example. But let's say we create an aircon unit under the Coopy umbrella, then we'll have that listed on our site. Obviously, it's a vetted project, and people can actually choose to invest themselves separate to their other investment, and they buy the product. So there's going to be various different ways of decisions being made. But moving forward with some of the external submissions, we do want to try and include the community. There's going to have to be a layer of vetting with our sort of like experts, and we'll put together a larger board as we grow. And then, we'll put it out to the community sometimes, or we'll, as we grow, as the community grows, then we'll likely appoint different people from the community that act as sort of representatives, so that there's no dictatorship going on. But we'll put a governing board together, and that's how the decisions overall will be made.
That sounds awesome. I mean, it makes total sense to keep the big decisions, or to have the final word in house, but at the same time to listen to the community and what do they think and what would they prefer is also really, really important for the longevity, I think.
Absolutely. And that's also, I keep talking about the community being important, and we've mentioned that with the marketing, but it's also for decision making, and like, meeting different individuals with so many skill sets and trying to encourage and enhance those skill sets. That's another reason why we want to make sure that the community has a say. It's going to be a tricky one, because not everyone's going to be available at every time and all of that, and they might suddenly like come back in a month and be like, hey, I didn't vote on that, but sorry, we can't cater for everyone. But overall, I think we'll have things in place and implement enough where people can actually have a say as well.
That's really awesome. So I think we covered the most of it about Coopy. There's just one final thing that I think people would like to hear, and I know that there are quite a few things planned for entertainment and engagement and like just for the fun. With Coopy, even before like we really started with the pre-sale and marketing. So can you tell us a little bit about that? How can people expect to have fun when they come over?
Yeah, so we're going to be having regular quiz nights, regular. We've, like I mentioned before, we've got the bingo bot, we've got the quiz bot, and we're constantly going to be adding to this. We've also got games. We've been working on developing some games, and we're going to carry on with that. So there's going to be like the social side. We also are going to be regularly having the VC Open with music. We will be hosting some virtual like DJ nights, so people can have fun and engage there, streaming concerts. There's quite a few different things that we want to sort of cause this to again be like a little bit of a snowball where people want to be on our website. There's treasure hunts. There's a big plan for a huge global treasure hunt. One of the ideas is that there's going to be, you can be in teams because obviously not everyone will be able to travel, but we'll fund some wallets, and people have to figure out by going on this treasure hunt what the seed phrase is, or probably not the real seed phrase, but then they'll win the contents of that wallet. And yeah, there's a lot of fun, interactive things that we want to put into place. That's just a tip, but yeah, fun and engagement and getting to know people and ultimately making friends. I know that sounds cliche, but that's what we want. We want there to be a fun, nice, engaging community that all have each other's backs.
Yep, that sounds awesome. Like I can't wait to go on a hunt with some of my friends.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. There's going to be
Yeah,
a lot. I'm looking forward to it.
me too. So I think we can wrap it up. We covered pretty much all of it for now.
Perfect.
It was nice talking to you, and
Yeah,
see
and
you.
you, and thank you, Zig. And yeah, just to anyone that's still listening, if we haven't bored you enough, always feel free to drop past and on the Telegram, etc., and ask any questions. We're pretty much always around. And yeah, let's get started. It's exciting. So thank you.
Yep, sounds awesome. All right, see you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.